I'm Bianca, and this is the Body Love and Series podcast, our first ever podcast. And today we have a very special Tash on the couch with us from Style Rotate, and I'm so keen to chat. Tash forced me to do this podcast, but I'm very grateful. Very grateful to her because this is going to be really, really fun and a great little journey. So yeah, introduce yourself, Tash.
Cool. So hi, I'm Tash, and I am the co-founder of Style Rotate, which is a fashion rental platform here in South Africa. And I have been wanting to do this podcast for ages with you.
Fab.
Ever since I heard about body loving, and ever since Style Rotate got involved in last year's fashion show, which was just amazing. I couldn't be there because I'd just gotten off the flight from Joburg, but yeah, it apparently was amazing, and I'm definitely going to be front row this year.
Yeah, hard to have one. We like trying to organize at the moment. Sheesh, it is like to organize a fashion show.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's really hard. So yeah, we're working our best. But
if our space was big enough, I'd definitely say have it here, but it's just too small.
Unfortunately. We could. It'll be
tiny.
It'll be tight. Invited guests only.
Exactly.
But yeah, I want to talk about inclusivity because I think that that's a really great topic for us to have a conversation about.
Yes.
Obviously, Style Rotate, I've always loved it. I wanted it involved in the runway show because it is so wonderfully inclusive. I think especially with like rental platforms for like designer dresses, it is rare to find a rental platform that has anything larger than maybe an XL if you're lucky. And so it's great to have a rental platform that does cater to, larger than an XL, which is epic with designer clothing.
Yes.
Could we talk about the experience of getting in the larger sizing? Because obviously you're not making it.
No.
You're renting them.
Yeah.
So you have to buy them from somewhere. But that like bodes the question of how good is like high fashion, larger size. Like, do you know what I mean?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. In fact, I think that compared to last year, the options are even more limited.
Really?
Yeah. So whenever we do our buying process, we most likely spend up to 3 months, if not longer, just being online. And that sounds really bizarre, but for us, the most important thing is not what we see on a website. It's are people wearing and buying and producing content in the clothes? Because often if people are making content, that means they loved the piece. So we're going on to tagged pics of brands to see how, a size large or 2XL actually fits. If we are scrolling and we are not seeing anybody in a 2XL body wearing that stock, it's a red flag for us, because it most likely means that brand either, and we've seen this a lot and it's terrible, to appear size inclusive, they say that they run up to a 2XL, but they never actually stock a 2XL.
You are kidding.
Swear
People
to God.
actually do that?
Yeah, they do. It's never in stock, even on launch day.
Is that not like false marketing? Like
100%.
false advertising?
But I guess it would be hard to prove, because you'd have to be like, how can you prove that you're sold out in those sizes?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
But yeah, so that's the one thing. The other thing is the letdown of seeing that a brand has maybe increased their size offering, getting the dresses here and putting them on a 2XL body or a 3XL body, and they are actually a large.
No. Yeah, that's happened to me. I'm not going to lie.
It's the worst.
Like, I feel like that's the most common thing that happens. Like, how many times?
It's all the time. And like the big bummer for us is that like that's a cash asset that we've bought into, that we need to, make money from, and now we bought it in that size range, and unfortunately that product no longer serves that size range because of the specs of the garment, which is really, really frustrating. So
who's the worst? You can't say. Do you want to you don't have to say.
So shame. I think that they're not going to listen. This is a huge brand, so like it's fine. But
if you're listening, be better.
Rat and Boa, if you are listening, I'm joking. So Rat and Boa, for example, is a brand that specific shapes and specific fabric compositions look stunning on a 2XL. Like some of our best performing dresses, right? And it's one of the dresses that I have to beg customers to put on because they're often like, oh my gosh, no, that's like clingy. And I've just told you that, you know, I want to cover up my stomach or whatever. And I'm like, trust me, you're going to feel amazing and sexy in this dress. But so that's for their one specific ilk of product. When you stray outside of that, absolutely incorrect sizing. So as soon as they go to something that's not cut on the bias, so it doesn't have any give, doesn't go.
Mediums.
It's just the worst. And then the other one like is House of CB. So they often their biggest size is what they call a large plus, which I would say, so it's like an L and then a plus symbol, which I would say is not a true XL at all. I would say that it's an L, and they don't do 2XL enough. So essentially they cater up to a size 14, which is a huge missed opportunity for them. And if I could have a conversation, like their dresses are designed to accentuate curves. So the fact that they do not have a proper extended size range is just ridiculous to me. And like I've never been able to fit into a House of CB dress, and I'm going on these buying trips. I'm trying them on in Selfridges, Westfield, going to the stores, experiencing the garments. Never once have I been able to fit into them. And so are
they not marketing though to like a curvier figure though?
So they have one curvy model, and I have a theory. This is all my conspiracies are coming out because I'm really looking. Like there's no one who spends more time than us looking at like international brands and occasion wear. And their one model is what I like to call skinny face plus body. But I'm pretty sure they airbrush and edit her figure massively because I don't think she is a true, like if you see a picture of her you might estimate that she's 16 or an 18, but I think that she's smaller, and I think that they're making her look bigger so that their campaigns look more inclusive. This is really savage.
No, I'm joking.
I'm sorry, but
no, but it's important to talk about because I feel like there's so much misinformation with like in brands, and especially like high fashion brands. And it's just not okay. Like it's not
subtle.
Okay.
It's subtle, and like so that's my advice if you're looking to shop internationally or even locally, is to go onto the tagged pics and see who is actually wearing the clothes, because what the brands put forward, unfortunately, like the trust just isn't there.
Sorry. Oh my goodness.
I'm surprised I haven't done that yet. The trust just isn't there. And like I think and then there are some other brands who are doing amazing stuff, you know, and that they really are doing stunning pieces. It's just a price point thing for us, you know. The Rand versus you know, having to buy in Forex is really difficult. So one of the biggest kind of push for us is when we're engaging with local brands that go up to an L, potentially an XL, we are saying, hey, you know, if you've ever wanted to test a size 18, 20, 22, Star Rotate is the perfect vehicle to do that with.
Absolutely.
You know, you can create limited volumes. Essentially we need 3, like that's it. And you can get feedback from the market and the demand before you go into
such
bulk.
a good idea.
Because obviously Star Rotate is all about eliminating fashion waste, and the obvious way to do that is to rent instead of buy something you're going to wear once. We all know about that. But for me, so before Star Rotate, I was a buyer, and for me, the waste that is produced before the customer even has their hands on a garment is just frightening. We're talking 3 to 4 samples per style created, and then obviously a full size curve if the brand does produce a full size curve before going into production, and then rejects and mistakes and all of those things, they're just sitting there. The retailer that I worked for, they had one floor that was called the archives, and it had all of the samples since the business's inception.
Yeah.
And it was like frightening. It was like looking into a landfill,
What do
the
they
amount
do
of
with
waste.
So does it just sit there?
It sits there, but like the buyers would refer back to it for like best-selling
Okay,
specs
yeah.
or fabrics or whatever. And a lot of brands have started doing amazing things like donating those pieces so that they can be patched up and sold or, you know, whatever. But there is just a lot of waste. And so what I also know is that there's a lot of cost. Every single sample is incredibly expensive, especially for small businesses operating Cape Town and producing locally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I think I just like never see behind the veil. So it's very easy to, I think for me, it's very easy to be like, get bigger sizing to like a small business. But I think the biggest comments from small businesses are like, we have to make one of each if we were to go up to a larger size,
to properly grade.
You know what I mean? But what I think Style Rotate does great is it is like a testing station.
Exactly.
Like, I know that
100%.
it's an odd thing to call it, but like you could put 3 products in here and be like, well, they do really well. Like they shoot well.
People
look
are
good,
trying them on all the time. The hanger appeal is good. The engagement is good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of we really want to help businesses take risks or things that are going to usually put a lot of upfront capital, which let's be honest, none of us have. Like we have an amazing relationship with Rethread, and a couple of weeks ago love Rethread.
Wore their dress. Did I put that? No, I've put one of their dresses on. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fabulous.
And they she has never done a 2XL before in a specific best-selling size. So she had posted something on TikTok and I commented, and then I think I messaged her, or I don't know. Somehow she was like, I actually have a fit sample for our Kango dress. I think it was the Kango dress in 2XL. We don't have anyone to fit it on. Can I bring it to the office? Can we do like a fit session at Style Rotate? And we did it, and it was just so amazing. Like, I felt unreal in the dress. I'm by no means a standard 2XL because of my bust size. So like I definitely, and obviously, you know, we take that into account, and Alexa, while she has like not a lot of formal training, she really knows how to get something to fit well. Brilliant. And so we just had like a 20-minute chat in the dress, how I felt in the dress, where we would release, you know, what we would need to do. And that was a sample she made purely by just grading up. And then we made the adjustments on an actual body. Another big thing for small brands is that those fit mannequins, the standard in South Africa is a 32 or a 34. And the bigger ones, like I've looked into purchasing one before, and
ridiculously expensive.
We're talking like 18,000 rand.
I know, for a mannequin. I found this out because I was working with Good Clothing, and they were grading on a larger, like a fit mannequin, and you think they were like, we spent a penny, like a pretty penny on this fit mannequin, and it doesn't really fit larger sizing well. Like it does,
it's depressing.
Like it does its job, but like it's not graded for 18,000 rand.
No, it's so expensive. And like for me, like a brand putting down that kind of capital to get their extended sizes like right is just, that should be like applauded. I think like that is just amazing. Like from a cash flow perspective, especially one that's like driven by stock and how expensive like the upfront, you know, costs are, like that's bloody amazing. Like, and it makes me as like a consumer want to go and shop at Good Clothing, because
it's so true.
That they're saying that it matters to them.
Exactly.
And the thing is that like I do though know that that's not accessible to everyone where they're at in their journey. But what I would like to see more of is like how Alexa, you know, reached out to me, like, and you know, it's not perfect because again, I'm not a perfect spec fit model, but it's something. It's like, and you know, it's really important. It's just sucks that there are all these barriers to making fashion more inclusive. It's just really frustrating.
It is frustrating. I think what's like lovely, and what was lovely also about my experience, is like to be seen and heard as like a plus size person in the fashion industry is very rare, and it's wonderful. So like, perfect example, if something fits me, I love it.
Me too. Me
you know
too.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if
but we've had to be that way.
Yes, exactly.
Because we have been conditioned into squeezing into things that don't fit our bodies, that we feel awful in, that we're uncomfortable in. And so as soon as something fits well, like sometimes I'll buy things that are not within my personal style and I don't reach for, but I bought it because it fit well.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, the amount of things that I have bought because I want to wear that style, but it just fits me terribly. And every single time I put it on, I'm like, get this off me. Like, is just like, there's so much.
Yeah. It's just, I think like that's where influencers like shout out Lachelle and Curvy Butterfly, also Marlies, like that's where that is so helpful, because they found their style in kind of local curvy brands, or maybe not so local, but still like they found a style that they love, that is their style. I can't, like, it's so difficult to find that as a curvy person, because it's like, okay, cool, it fits, it's mine now, it's my style now, I must wear this, like I must wear this god awful cat shirt with the shoulders the
or like
shoulders.
Some
not
like
talk about
terrible oh my god, cold shoulders.
Let's not talk about
we're finished with them.
Finished. But it's just like you're forced to almost not have style, because you're forced to just kind of put things on that fit you. And
100%.
I'm saying that as a person who like wears an XL, which is actually a very accessible size, and yet it is still incredibly difficult.
So hard. It's
you know
so
what I
hard.
mean? So I can only imagine that when we start moving up in sizing, it is even harder to find. So to have like personal style, personal fashion, as a larger body, I like commend those influencers, because I'm like, that's difficult, and you've done a damn good job. Like it's amazing.
And like even taking the conversation of the size out of it, like those creators are stylish full stop. They're not just stylish for plus size communities. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that's been really interesting to me, because obviously I don't make stock decisions on my own. We have an amazing product strategist and Gina, our brand manager. They both wear a size small and extra small, and tasking them with the job of sourcing, say, the 2XL range or the XL range or whatever, I have never seen them more frustrated, more shocked, more like passionate ever in my life. Like they literally look at me with this face and they're like, there's just nothing. And I'm like, babes, tell me about it.
Babes.
I'm living in this body. Like, just coming to work in an outfit is like hard enough. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And so that's been fascinating. And I think it's an experience that not a lot of people who live in smaller bodies get to experience, is that real lack of options. And I think that's what really frustrates me and the team when we have people come in and say that we don't cater to smaller sizes. We've had that a lot. And say, like, people come in and say, oh, you know, you don't really have a lot of smalls, or like, why do you have big sizes? I mean, we have people literally saying, what's this rail? And then our stylist will say, this is the 2X and 3X rail. And they'll literally step back in horror. Like, that this is not separate.
I'm sorry, God forbid a curvy person
God forbid
a curvy person wants to put on a beautiful sparkly dress
and go to a wedding and celebrate herself on her birthday. How dare she? And how dare it be in the same room as my options?
Oh my God.
How dare it be taking up space for my options? Honestly,
please,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's my favorite thing, and I think I've told you this before. My favorite feedback from the runway show is, why do you have larger actually can't even talk about it.
Did someone comment it or email you?
Yes, email.
Oh,
Strongly worded email. gmail.com.
Stop
and it was, I think you should start. This is, by the way, I just want to preface this by saying this is unsolicited. It's also a like advertised inclusive runway show. You know what I mean? Like this is an inclusive runway show. We say it on everything.
Yes.
And I got an email and it was like, I think you should stop putting anyone larger than an XL on the runway because it's promoting obesity and I don't want to see that. And I was like, actually gobsmacked. Like,
crazy.
I'm like, firstly, then don't.
Yes.
Like
unfollow
us, don't come to the events, like simply just don't come. Secondly, God forbid we have larger bodies wanting to look hot and like sulse down a runway.
And exactly.
It is like it makes me so angry.
Did you respond to the person, by the way?
I did.
Did you?
I did.
Good. Well done. I love that.
I did, and I said I was very passive aggressive. I've done a lot of customer service. I've done a lot of customer service in my time.
Yeah.
And so
it's so hard.
It's so hard. Like, so I was like, okay,
yeah.
keep this civil. Don't want to go to
Yeah.
court. Not that I can. But like, I was like, thank you for your feedback. Simply just don't come to the next one, please. Unfollow us. We do not need this energy. And I think it's horrifying that you think that larger bodies don't deserve to feel beautiful, and I think you should look at your own bias with regards to that.
Exactly.
Because it's also just like,
I would have sent her some like literature. I would have been like,
here's the Brene Brown ticket.
Yeah, these are some people I think you should follow.
Yeah.
These are some spaces that I think that you should expose yourself to.
Yeah.
Because this, and you know, it's hard because while we are trying to have these conversations, we also already have our own internal experiences and our own internal, you know, conversations that go on in our brains about our bodies. And I think like when we started Star Rotate, obviously, like I wasn't going to be a part of a brand that I couldn't utilize, simply as that, right? And I think that that's never been a question from the beginning. But there have been times when like we and I have not been happy with the range that we're putting forward in those sizes, like to the point of which, you know, I'll be going to a wedding and I don't even use my own service because I really am frustrated with the lack of options. And so when we get that feedback, it's like it's good. It's pushing us to be better. Obviously, you know, like we've talked about how the fact we don't make clothes. So if I could whiz it up, like, you know, exactly what I want, I would. But the whole reason I moved away from production was I wanted a sustainable alternative. And that does mean relying on other brands. So, but it's about constantly having that conversation and making and instilling that in our staff as well. We constantly pushed by our staff to ensure that like diversity and inclusivity is always at the forefront of the brand. And we're just very lucky to have built the journey like that. But anyway, the point of that whole long spiel was that at the beginning of the brand, I never put myself in the clothes or was on camera or did try-ons or anything, like try-on videos or anything. And it was because I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't think I belonged there. I didn't see myself, you know, represented in other businesses. And like, I'm part owner of the business. Do you know what I mean? And even then I'm like, you know, you're not a model. You're not even a plus model, you know? And I think that that's something that my peers have really pushed me to do. I'm a terrible model. Okay? I'm a terrible model. I don't know how to pose. I don't have the face. Like, yeah, that's a real thing. But the one thing that I do like to do is I can put a dress on and talk about it. Yeah. Like, and that's something. And then through trial and error, I worked out that that's authentic to me and my personality.
Yeah. Also necessary. I believe that kind of content is actually just so helpful and so necessary.
Super helpful.
Because you're like, this is just organically my body and you're looking at a dress on my body.
Yes.
And that's the most organic. Yeah. In modeling, it's very easy to be like, okay, cool, now we're just gonna like quickly tuck in the back and pop a little clip on it, and we're just gonna do, brain. That was one of my favorite things that happened at the shoot that we did, was a girl put on a dress, it was too big, and she came to you and she said, oh, could I clip this in the back?
Absolutely
and you
not.
said, absolutely not. This dress, we're going to put it on someone who it fits.
Yeah.
And the amount of shoots I've been on where they've clamped, tucked, clipped, safety pinned, pulled out, ripped the bag, cut, like almost every single one of them.
I know.
And then it's just not an accurate, authentic representation of the actual
no, literally.
that you're selling.
And like even more so for us, that dress is like a mini little asset that like its best like performance will be on a body that's truly reflective of its fit. Yeah. I mean, it's like a really simple.
It feels really simple, but it's
and like
just not.
Clamping dresses is just, it's just not the one. Like it's just not the one. It's just get a bigger model.
It's just not authentic, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
Like to the actual size. And then, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating shopping that online, because you're oh, that's my body. Cool, I ordered the dress. Now the dress is too big. And you're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, never mind. Like that's frustrating.
Yeah.
No, it's a biggie.
Yeah. I learned something the other day that I wanted to, because fashion, you're a fashion girly.
Because fashion.
Because fashion, you're a fashion girl. I didn't know that a triple XL is different to a 3XL.
Yes.
That it's smaller or it's more of a straight sized fit than a 3XL. So the numbers to the letters are different. And I felt this at Cotton On. Yeah. Because I will put on like...
Oh, massive.
Okay, Cotton On.
Massive.
Massive. But like I've put on a 2XL and it's been like way too small. Yeah. And then I've put on a XXL.
Yes.
And no,
the other way around.
You know what I mean?
So you've put on an XXL and it's too small.
And then I've put on a 2XL and it's like gapey.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm really confused.
I'm so confused.
No, yeah. So this is another huge thing that I feel is so relevant, is that because our bodies are not catered to or catered for, or considered really in the fashion space, we don't know what size we are.
No. I do not.
So the amount of people who come into the showroom and say, I'm a large, they are not a large. They're a 2XL. Yeah. But because they have never had the opportunity to fit clothing that fits them, they have always squeezed themselves into a size large. Yeah. And the thing is that is heartbreaking for me, because like the only reason that I am able to know that I am an 18 or a 2XL is because the privilege that I've had to be able to travel and afford clothes that do cater to, bigger sizes. And I think that like that's just not available to South Africans. And because a lot of what local brands are doing only go up to an L or an XL, they think that they're just the biggest size. Yeah. But actually, there's a size for you, babe. You have a size.
There's a size.
Yeah.
That fits you.
Exactly.
Properly. Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter what that size is, but there's one that fits you properly. Yeah. Yeah. Size education. Really important. Really, really important.
So important.
And just giving women the opportunity to put clothes on that were designed for their size. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's just something that is just like really not available. Yeah. I had a shopping experience recently where, I was in the UK, and when I'm in the UK, because my family's from there, I shop a lot on Vinted, which is like the Yaga,
Stunning.
But it's amazing.
It's gorgeous. My friend did an ad for it.
Oh, it's just the best. Yeah. And like the community on there is also amazing. Like the team tease me because they're like, oh, Tash is chatting to another vintage friend, like, and I've never sold there, but I've often bought. And just knowing that when I order a specific size, I know it's going to come and it fits me like a glove. Like a brand that does plus or extended sizes really well is like Marks and Spencer's, and you wouldn't really think, but they've got really amazing, cool, stylish stuff, and like in bigger sizes. And it was just a really great, refreshing, I mean, I didn't even deal with the store because I bought it on Vinted, but just that kind of experience of just being able to shop secondhand. I mean, one of the biggest issues with sustainable fashion is that it's not accessible for the plus size community, and it also tends to be more expensive. So that is a space that needs a lot of development and a lot of work. But I also think that I read a quote once from a content creator I follow, that maybe it was Aja Barber. She's amazing. You should follow her. She talks a lot about sustainability and kind of the cross section of like, you know, social issues and social injustices woven into this industry we've created called the fashion industry that, you know, we all use and enjoy. She said that plus size people have always innately been more sustainable because our options are more limited. So we consider more when we buy, and we wear our pieces for far longer because the chance of being able to replace that item is, you know, much lower. You know, your favorite brand can do an extended size for 2 seasons and then goodbye. It's no longer a priority. We're, like, you know, when Cotton On had their extended style in store, and then obviously it didn't perform. You know, we don't know the ins and outs of as to why. Boom, it's gone out of stores.
It's funny. My first TikTok video I've ever made was a commentary on Cotton On's new Curve.
Amazing. I think I watched it.
Did you? Yeah, it was like very popular. Surprisingly, because it was my first TikTok. But like, I essentially was like, you walk to the store, it's been pushed all the way into the back, the flickering light. It was like a horror movie back there. Like, it was horror movie, also completely separated from all the other stock. And I think like that all is plain,
one horrible print.
And I'm
all
like,
linen.
It's just, it flabbergasts me, especially when it's separated, because I'm like, a shopping experience when you're going into store, because we have so much accessibility online, when you're going into store, especially with friends or family, it's an experience, and you want to kind of experience this fun shopping, like kind of like social vibe. And now, sorry, you must go all the way to the back. And
so all of this visual merchandising and all of this storytelling that we've got, and we've put a lot of millions of rands into, that is living at the front of the store, creating a whole visual experience for an aspirational weekend with your friends. When it comes to Cotton On, for example, you are not able to browse in that section alongside your friends, alongside your family. You must go to the back and you must browse there. And that's why I think when people literally jump back from our plus size ranges in store, I'm just like, it's not detracting from your experience, it being in the same place.
Like, also, you know what's going to help? Exposure. More exposure to it in store on the same rack. Like, it's just unheard of, and that's why it's so scary. Again, it's so like scary and new and like, no, I can't be seen looking at this. It's just because you don't see it in any store. But
I proudly shop in there. I'm like,
absolutely. And it's amazing that there is that option to shop that in store, but how amazing would it be if it was on the same rack as the smaller sizes as well? Like, that would be epic.
There's an amazing brand in Australia called Fate, the label. It's Fayt, and I follow them on TikTok, and I follow the founder, and her whole concept is around like battling that. So essentially, like, you know, a lot of brands will have sizes, you know, up to a 12 in store, but you must go online if you want it in the extended sizes, or you have to wait for an online return. That was another one that's like really big, you know, in the US, is that like people being like, oh, we do have one, it came through from an online return. It's like, cool, so I must try on someone's return, you won't stock my size in the store. Like, it just, I mean, it's difficult. And that's kind of why I say that compared to last year, we noticed a severe drop in number of options available internationally. Like, and we look at Australia, Europe, the UK, the States, South America, you know, everywhere. And it's just frightening. to be honest.
I think it's like, I hate that. I think like body positivity, let's look at it as a movement, is looked at as such a trend. Like I was speaking at a school and I kind of like spoke about that, and I was like, in 2021, body positivity, it boomed, and that was amazing. That was when I had the full realization, started kind of body love and series, like that was that period for me, and that was amazing because it taught me how to love my body. But like it's a we've seen a trend, and now it is
crashing,
bombing, and I'm like, it's not a trend. These are people's bodies that you're dealing with. They will not change and they will not mold. They can force them to change, but it's like nobody can force you to do anything.
Exactly.
But like, this is not a trend of skinny jeans. This is somebody's body that they have to carry with them all day, every day. It is not a trend.
No.
And so we see this trend now decreasing online. And now all of a sudden, all these fashion brands are pulling out of this trend. And I'm like, at what stage do we wake up and realize that this is not a trend? It's actually people's bodies.
And like bigger bodies have existed
forever,
centuries, and like they're not going away. So the big thing for me is that like, and interestingly enough, so I have always been bigger, so obviously varying degrees. Like when I was younger, the probably first fat shaming I ever experienced was that my mom always called me heavy-handed, because she was like, you're so clumsy, you're so heavy-handed. And like looking back at that phrase, heavy-handed, is like basically saying that I wasn't dainty and I wasn't like, I was just bigger. Do you know what I mean? And everything that I did was like stronger, and I just took up more space, you know? And ever since then, I've most likely been on some form of diet / disordered eating all the way up until my mid-20s. Like in my previous job, I did all of the crash diets. I had a terrible relationship with exercise and a terrible relationship with food. I was saying to the girls the other day, I can't believe it, like, because we're talking about pyramid schemes. And not to expose somebody else, but Herbalife, I'm looking at you. And
new skin.
And I cannot believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but basically I did Herbalife for a year. And I have a large frame, and I've always had a big bust. So I've never been anything smaller than a size large or extra large. And when I was doing that what was it called? Herbalife diet. On Christmas Day, I had a shake instead of eating Christmas.
Oh, Tash, that's heartbreaking.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And like the thing is, so the point of this story is that nobody is immune to disordered thought patterns or like, you know, loving your body is complex, and it changes every single day. And like, I can now luckily look back at that behavior and say that wasn't loving my body. I was starving, I had breakouts, I was undernourished, and I was the thinnest I'd ever been, and I still thought I was too big. And so that was just, and then I've been bigger than I am now as well. So being able to like, that journey has not been healthy for my body, of this kind of like yo-yo flick-flacking situation. And I think that like we can be in these spaces having these conversations and starting to have the conversations. It just doesn't mean that we're not immune to it when it's directed to us.
I think like that's the biggest thing, is like people have been like, no, I can't be on body love and series because I don't love my body. I'm like, girl,
neither do I. Some days I don't.
Some days I love it. Some days I'm like, I look fantastic. Some days I just hate it. I find myself falling back into weird diets. I find myself falling back into disordered exercise. And it happens all the time. And it's this journey and this wave. But the point is, like, we're talking about it.
Exactly.
And we're making it normalized.
And that burst in 2021 really also changed the trajectory of my life. And like, and it's sad to see it dipping. But I think now the people that led that movement, which was the majority of those people were fat black women. They led that movement. And I think that like we learned from that, and like I take that into my thought processes every day. So like I was in yoga the other day and someone in the instructor made a comment about a movement we were doing and beach body ready or whatever. And I had the voice of one of those initial speakers in my head saying, Nana girl, you black that out. Like stop thinking about, you know, a summer body while you're doing yoga, which is supposed to be helping me with my anxiety and my mental health, and I don't want to have to think
about my body.
No,
like,
exactly.
I don't want to think about it.
So it's a forever evolving situation.
It's a consistent journey, and you know what, nobody's perfect. We're all gonna go on this journey, even if you're tiny small.
Agreed.
You're gonna go on this journey, and it's unfortunately a very female-based journey, obviously, because of, you know, diet culture and the origins and the history of that. But like, it is a journey, and you are not alone. I'm not perfect. I own the Body Lovin' series, and sometimes I don't love my body, and that's fine. Like, you're absolutely not alone. But
just on the female space, I feel like it's also, I wish that there was more conversation around it within the men's space as well.
Me too.
I think that there's a huge like black cloud or like unspoken elephant in the room, and that is how men feel, you know, in bigger bodies. And I think some men in bigger bodies, there is a right type of bigger body to have, and then there's a wrong type of bigger body to have, and I think that that's just as important. Like, as confidence and self-love comes and grows within male conversations and conversations between, you know, friends and partners and whoever, like, we will then get to the root of other issues. You know, like, I really believe that like a lot of the issues we have in this country at the moment with gender-based violence is based on like poor self-esteem and, you know, terrible, like an inability for us to actually speak about our emotions and speak about what we're going through. And like, I wish that guys checked in with each other more in that way as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, the Body Lovin' series obviously has come from my perspective for so long, so it is such a female like perspective,
but also a queer space.
Absolutely. And but with the last runway show, it was so important that we had men that walked the runway, and that was such an important step for me.
I would have loved to see that.
It was so good.
Are we having men as well? Amazing.
Absolutely. I think it's like going to be a consistent thing, because I've now heard their stories and I've gone, you know what? Me too.
Agreed.
I see so much of myself in that.
It's actually a very similar.
It is a very
experience.
it really is, and it is unfortunately by the doing of men creating that circumstance and that space.
Yeah, we've had to create something separate.
Exactly.
And I get it, and I think it's just
But also, they've created it doesn't mean that they're not a part of it either.
Agreed.
Like, they also experience the like awful nature of that circumstance.
Misogynistic capitalism.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Anyway, we should wrap this up. I could talk for 3,000 years.
So bad.
Anyway,
really
we'll do it again. Why not? Let's just.
It's like your favorite podcast. It's like whenever I listen to my favorite podcast and I always hear them go, "We could talk for ages. We should do this again." Yeah. I'm like, please don't invite this guest again. She's just like I've listened to this now. I don't want to hear from her again. And then when they have them back, I'm like, why are we still speaking to her? I'm joking. No, so I won't be that
Tash,
person.
No. If you hate Tash, you're not allowed. But anyway, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure
for coming. It was such a joy having this conversation with you, and it's been such a joy collaborating with Style Rotate and just being a part of the family and popping in and knowing everyone, loving everyone. And I'm so excited to see your personal journey and where you grow and where you go, and also Style Rotates, and I think it's gonna be epic. But huge gratitude for sitting with me and having a conversation.
No, it's best. I can talk about this kind of stuff for ages, and I'm really proud of you for coming in here and just doing the first episode, babe.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And like
big milestone, big
milestone, but also like we are in desperate need of these conversations in a local context, because they are happening in silos of communities, like you know, Lachelle's, you know, DMs or comment sections, or you know, events like the body loving runway, but like what we really, really need is for this to be available in these conversations to be longer and not clickbait, and be nuanced and have different perspectives, and like we desperately need it within the South African fashion context.
100%.
And so well done. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yay. Bye guys.
Bye.